We're looking this week at the implications of the Incarnation. And the first one we looked at was the fact that Jesus Christ had come to reveal to us the Father, to reveal to us God. Secondly, we saw that He's come to defeat death and take the fear of death away from us, because He also has defeated the devil. And so that's a second one. The third one today, He's come, according to the New Testament, to be our great sympathetic high priest. So we're turning to that precious passage of Scripture in Hebrews chapter 4 that talks about that in the most clear detail. Have you ever had somebody come to you when you're going through a difficult sorrow or trial, and they say, "We know how you feel," and yet if that person has not gone through the kinds of things we've gone through, really they don't know how we feel. They don't know what we're going through. And that can be a little bit disingenuous, and we might even recoil against that and say, "Well, you don't know. You've not been there. You've not seen what I've seen. You've not felt what I've felt. You really don't understand." And so that could be have the same idea with God. I mean, if God is so different than us, He's so holy, He's so powerful, He's so knowledgeable, how can He understand in any sense what you and I go through? How could He empathize with us? He is wholly other. And so we come to this passage of Scripture, and the Lord wants us to know that He does sympathize, He does understand, because Jesus Christ has been there. And He's been there because He was incarnate. Chapter 4 of Hebrews, verse 14 says, "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us take hold of our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who's been tempted in all things like we are, yet without sin." So when Jesus Christ was on earth, He faced the same kind of temptations you and I. Now, that doesn't mean He had every detail, every type of temptation, every circumstance possible, but every kind of, every issue of temptation, everything that temptation of sin can come against us, bombard us with. Jesus faced that. And he faced it in its full fury, because He was the holy Son of God, and He had the devil working against Him as well. So He was constantly under the bombardment of the highest level of temptation possible. But our passage tells us He did face all that temptation without sin. And so no matter the level of temptation that came His way, He never faltered, He never failed, He never gave in. And so although He has been where we have been and has felt what we have felt to the highest intensity possible, He never faltered, never failed. And so that should give us great comfort. Matter of fact, He goes on to make an application of that in the next verse. "Therefore," He says, "let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, because Christ has been there, and He is our great high priest, and we can go to Him and to the Father through Him. We can draw near with confidence to that throne of grace." What a beautiful way of expressing it. The throne of grace, to come before God Himself, His throne, described as grace through Jesus Christ, our high priest, is a precious promise and opportunity. And He says we can do so with confidence. And He goes on to say, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So when we approach that throne of grace, and we come before God the Father through Jesus Christ, our high priest, what do we find? Well, we find at that point that we receive mercy. Mercy is the idea of coming before Him and receiving help at our greatest point of need. That is probably the true distinction between grace and mercy. Grace is God giving us what we do not deserve. Mercy is God not giving us what we do deserve. And so we come to the Lord in this moment of great need, when we're really at our lowest ebb. And what do we find there at the throne of grace? We find mercy. We don't find condemnation. We find mercy. God reaching out to us to help us at that time. And it says, and to find grace to help in that time of need. And so mercy removes that pain. Grace gives us the positive of God's wonderful grace when at the point of our need for help, at our need at our point of need. And so we find that the implication of the incarnation is this: Jesus Christ understands. He knows what you are going through. He knows the temptations. He knows the struggles. And He is there to understand and to sympathize. But more than that, to give us mercy and grace at our time of need. What a beautiful picture. That ought to give us a wonderful day in the Lord, hadn't it? I trust it does. We'll look at a fourth implication of His incarnation tomorrow.